Morning to you.
Good morning.
I have to say, there's a little bit of League of Gentlemen about a field in England.
Yes, there is. I think you're right to say that. Yeah, it's a very odd little film, and dealing with some kind of extreme characters that find themselves in an extraordinary situation. So
Tell us about your character, because we're about to see a little bit of the film, but just set it up for us. Who are you and what's happening?
I play a little meek, cowardly alchemist's assistant that's fleeing the English Civil War. He shouldn't find himself on this battlefield at all, so he's very much a fish out of water, and he discovers these other deserters in this field across the hedgerow, and from there on in we kind of get embroiled in this strange quest to find this treasure, because we get captured by this other magician who is insistent that there is some magic in this field, and he kind of harnesses my powers to kind of find this treasure, and that's the most I can say about it.
So that's the plot. Let's have a look.
Merry band, are we not?
Formed merely by the alchemy of circumstance, we would not otherwise associate.
Many chums have you? Back home?
It's mostly been amongst books.
My balls scream like harpies.
Nevertheless,
it is indeed a pleasure to find like-minded company in such remote parts.
where am I?
Monmouthshire.
That near Essex, is it?
No.
Don't bother. He hears the call and puts one foot in front of the other. Isn't that so, brother?
My master predicts that impending events will stagger the monarch and kingdom.
After the outhouse, I shall stagger south-east.
I believe I have distant relatives at Gloucester. I might go there.
Perhaps they have a large linen cupboard in which you could hide.
There was some language in there that you may not expect at 8:55 in the morning, but of course in the 17th century that would have been bandied about quite freely.
Of course, yes, yeah, and black and white.
Yeah, black and white film, and very, as you described it, an odd little film.
Yes, it is, yeah. I mean, I think it's a strong flavour. It won't be to everyone's tastes, but what I think's appealing about it is that very thing, that it's such a... Ben Wheatley directed it, it's got such a strong voice, you know. It's lovely to see something that's so assured of itself, and you kind of, in the same way our things are very a strong taste, and not everyone it doesn't appeal to everyone, but I think sometimes when something is such a strong vision and it stamps its foot, you can't ignore it. You might not like it, but you can't ignore it.
And just looking at the film, there, people are thinking it has a very distinct look about it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's not strictly just black and white, is it? There's some sort of effect on it. It gives it a kind of, I don't know, it looks a bit kind of grubby, which I guess is part in keeping with the era.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, I think one of the great hopes for it was that it would feel like authentically 1648, whatever that means, you know. So the black and white kind of, despite, you might think that's a gimmick, but I think genuinely it does look kind of old and grubby, and we kind of go through this journey, and I think you do kind of come out the other side having kind of experienced it yourself, which is great for a film.
And at the moment, of course, everyone's talking about enormous amounts of money spent on films.
Yes.
Enormous blockbusters, and saying how long can that last and how much will they spend. This is kind of right at the opposite end of that spectrum, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, this was filmed for probably the same money that a half hour of television is filmed, you know. It was micro-budget by comparison to these films these days. So, and filmed in 12 days, like you say, so that was a real... It was like boot camp, but it was exciting. It felt like... it felt fresh, despite the fact that it is such low budget. When you go the other extreme, you get the opportunity, I think, to have more control, and that's ultimately when things that have a, you know, they arrive undiluted, and that's what's good about them, I think.
You specialise in projects which are at once funny and enormously unsettling.
Yes, imagine that as your mantle.
And you've got another series of programmes coming out in the same sort of vein.
Yes.
I was watching back some League of Gentlemen last night, and it's interesting when you watch the clips on YouTube or wherever else you watch them on the internet, how many comments underneath from people who say, brilliant, fantastic, funny, couldn't go to sleep afterwards, used to have nightmares about this, you know, couldn't let the children watch.
Yeah.
How did you make that work?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it's because we never consciously did that. I mean, I think we just made ourselves laugh with these characters and these situations. And it's always appealed to us, kind of the mundane pushed to an extraordinary level. And it was never really designed to be a hole in the market. You know what, there isn't a dark comedy. I think other people pegged us as that. And then we kind of became aware, oh, yes, it is quite... This might not be to everyone's taste, you know, but it was all our collective sense of humour was that, you know, and I think just it's your yardstick of what you think is acceptable or not, isn't it? Comedy's so subjective, comedy.
Did you?
Was it hard? Just because when I see those images and some of the prosthetics, and
Yeah.
the way it just makes me laugh so much. I imagine that when you were filming it, were there times when it was very hard to contain yourself, looking at your fellow actors and what they'd created, the kind of spectacle?
Yes, yeah, sometimes, yeah. It was always great to kind of imagine the character and have the journey of sitting in a room in North London, writing it 10 months before, and then eventually arriving and having the makeup and seeing the full effect. And often it would be very funny, but equally, it was such a tight schedule. I mean, you know this, you can't mess around. Maybe you do mess around, I don't know.
No messing around here.
No messing around there. And so we couldn't really laugh about it. We kind of like, yeah, it's great, it looks right, let's get on with it. So I think there's a few times when we corpsed, but it becomes quickly wearisome, and you get annoyed.
Yeah.
So we try to get on with it. It's quite serious business.
And is there somebody who keeps laughing even when everyone else is getting annoyed?
That can happen, yeah. I mean, you can get the giggles, and it becomes, oh no, this is dangerous now, because if I go past the point, I may never stop.
I have to ask about the League of Gentlemen, whether is that gone? It's gone away?
I don't think so. I mean, we're all still alive. And
that's a plus.
That's a plus.
That's
and where there's life,
it's
there's
possible,
hope.
Exactly, yes. We had a little rest, and it's become 10 years. And I think we do plan, hopefully, to do something again. Possibly not Royston Vasey in those characters, but we would never say never. We wanted just to kind of recoup. And everyone's so busy. Mark's doing his Sherlock now, and
you're
Jeremy's
doing Doctor Who?
Yes, well, he asked me finally to be in one.
Mark Gatiss?
Yeah. But call him Gatiss, because he'd be very cross if you called him Gatiss.
Rewind. Mark Gatiss?
That's it, yeah. And he asked me to play Patrick Troughton in his new drama about the gestation of Doctor Who, which is coming out for the 50th anniversary, and that was
You're
very...
presumably not old enough to remember Patrick Troughton in
I
Doctor Who.
don't, no, I don't actually, but I've seen pictures of him, yeah, of
That
course
helps.
I know who he is. But yeah, it was a real honour to be part of it, you know. I've got a very small part in it, but it was lovely to be on the original set of the TARDIS and see David Bradley, who was playing William Hartnell. Brilliant, you know, it was a real treat. I think it'd be great, people will love it.
When's that out?
In November, when it becomes the 50th, literally the 50th anniversary of Who.
The Whovians would know that.
The Whovilles, yeah. Oh no,
Very
that's
good.
Dr. Zeus. Sorry.
It's lovely to see you here this morning.
Thank you very much.
That's Horton Hears a Who.
That's right.
In
yes.
Whoville,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah. Lovely to see you. A Field in England is released on Friday. And it's released, isn't it? A film in the cinemas, DVD,
Yes.
TV,
They're multi-platforming. It's never been done before.
all at the same time.
Yeah, you can watch it on telly, you can go to the cinema, you can get it on video and on DVD,
Yeah.
Betamax, on old
Whatever
wooden
happened to
slates.
Betamax?
It's gone away.
I've still got some.
Yeah, with League of Gentlemen on it.
Probably.
I'm old enough.
Reece's new series, Inside Number 9, is going to be on BBC Two later this year.